Raider Nation, what's going on? You're watching the Raiders Report, brought to you by BetDSI, and I'm your host, Mitchell Renz. Raiders, Chiefs highlights, those are pretty lit. I'm hoping this week's just as good as that. So, to kick off this show, I got some news, and then I'm going to get into my nice little six-pack of rumors. I got some Pro Bowl nominees. Heck, then I'm also going to look into this actual Week 13 matchup against the Chiefs. So, first news bit coming up here. Derek Carr is going to start in Week 16. There was a rumor going around last week that Derek wasn't going to start in Week 13, and they're going to give AJ McCarron a shot. Well, I don't really think that's going to happen, and they've already come out and said that Derek is ultimately going to be the starter. He did injure his ankle in the fourth quarter against the Ravens, but he straight up said, I'm going to finish this game with my teammates, and I know that some of you want Carr to be benched for AJ McCarron, but I just don't think that's the answer. Sure, Derek wasn't a world beater last week against the Ravens, but 16-34, not great, I get it. But the Ravens are above average defense, to say the least. They're one of the best passing defenses against quarterbacks for any of you fantasy football players out there. 194 yards, a touchdown, a pick. Yes, he did have a costly fumble, but at the end of the day, I don't know if it's AJ McCarron. But this show isn't just about me. I also want to know from you, who should the Raiders start at quarterback this week, Week 13? If you could pick, you're the head coach, you're John Gruden, who are you starting at quarterback Week 13? I want you to type C for Carr or type N for McCarron. Let me know in the comments section below. All right, Raider Nation, what's going on? You're watching the Raiders Report, brought to you by BetDSI, and I'm your host, Mitchell Renz. If you like me, follow me on Twitter at MitchellRenz365, and also subscribe to YouTube.com/Raiders Report, where I put out a whole bunch of content that you can only see at YouTube.com/Raiders Report. And if you want to be on Raider Nation Rumors, guess what you got to do? Subscribe, YouTube.com/Raiders Report. Next bit of news here. The Raiders have 3 Pro Bowl nominees on offense, and I was a little bit surprised when I saw this, but then when I see the names and then you kind of go through it a little bit, and I'm going to tease it a little because I go through who these actual 3 players are a little bit later on and give you, should they be Pro Bowl nominees. It's Derek Carr, it's Cook, and it's Rodney Hudson. Hudson and Cook I can agree with. Carr I'm a little bit shaky on, but to go vote for these Raiders, you can either go onto their Twitter and find it, and then you can retweet the tweet. It's the top one, or at least it was the top one when I was on their Twitter account. You can retweet it to vote for them, or you can go to NFL.com Pro Bowl Ballot to vote for the Raiders to ultimately make the Pro Bowl. So, I want to know from you, which Raider deserves to make the Pro Bowl the most? Offense, defense? I want to know from you, which Raiders deserves to make the Pro Bowl the most? For me, I think it's Rodney Hudson. You could also put money on Jared Cook because, well, they're both having great, great seasons. Next news bit coming up here, and this one is awesome. Free Beast mobile service. Yes, you read that right. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, this one's awesome. So, Marshawn Lynch has his own company called Beast Mobile. I had no idea. And with him owning the company, he came out on Cyber Monday and said, I will, for the first 500 new customers, you're going to get a full year for free. So, if you need a free cell phone bill, look up Beast Mobile because Marshawn's going to be hooking you up. And in fact, his first brick-and-mortar store opened in 2016 in Oakland. But when he opened the store, there was such a large crowd of people going there that he actually had to shut it down quickly after. So, I got a question for you. What kind of phone do you have? Do you have an iPhone or do you have an Android? If you have an iPhone, I want you to give me a heart. If you have an Android, I want you to give me a like. I have an iPhone, so I'm going to throw up my heart. And if anybody wants my number, it's actually, I'm not going to tell you. It's probably not a good idea. All right, Raider Nation, what's going on? You're watching the Raiders Report, and I'm your host, Mitchell Renz. If you're new to the show, you're going to need to understand my Raider rumor scale. So, take me there. 0 Chucky heads, tuck rule, tuck that. This rumor, not going to happen. 1 Chucky head is a small shred of truth. I like to think 25% chance of happening. 2 Chucky heads, people are talking. This rumor's 50-50. 3 Chucky heads, pretty likely 75% chance this rumor's going to happen. And then 4 Chucky heads, believe it, baby. 100% this rumor's going to happen. First rumor up here on the board. Alabama would beat the Oakland Raiders. I'm giving this one 0 Chucky heads. Tuck rule, tuck that. And I am so sick and tired of every bad NFL team, of some kid going out there and saying, oh, Alabama would beat them. No, they wouldn't. It's a bunch of 19 and 20-year-olds going up against full-grown men. How many NFL players are on Alabama's team? Let's say half. Let's say half of them end up going to the NFL. Guess how many NFL players are on the Raiders? All of them. Like, it's not going to happen, the fact that Alabama would win. So some kid on YouTube, his name is C4. You can go look him up yourself. He basically makes his own roster of Alabama players and does a simulated game against the Raiders and basically says that the Alabama, after a simulation, would beat Oakland 21-0, which I think is a bunch of hot garbage. So that's his score. I want to know your score. If the Raiders played Alabama, what would the score be? So comment below, predict the score. Honestly, for me, I think the Raiders would win like 45-21. That's my prediction. I want you guys to comment below. Alabama versus the Raiders. I don't want to see too many roll tides. Next news, or next rumor coming up here on the board, Blake Bortles is going to be a Raider next season. I'm giving this one 0 Chucky heads. Tuck rule, tuck that. And this one's from Fanside. And then Fanside, let me just say, I'm pretty sure some 11-year-old write this one. So basically, the way that this would go is the Raiders would ultimately get a second-round pick from the Jags and Blake Bortles. And what do the Jaguars get? They just don't have to deal with Blake Bortles anymore. Do you remember when the Browns had so much extra money that they went out and they traded for Brock Osweiler for an extra pick? They basically said, sure, we'll just eat $17 million. That's basically what the Raiders would have to do in here. They would eat the $16.5 million Blake would be owed next year and just get a second-round pick. I just don't think that's going to happen. I think AJ McCarron, honestly, is actually better than Blake Bortles. But here you can look at Blake Bortles' season stats, 13 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. He's got a few more fumbles that I couldn't fit on screen there, but no big deal. Blake Bortles definitely is not the answer, and I would go nuts if he was in silver and black next year. So, I want to know from you, would you rather trade for Blake Bortles or get Cole for Christmas? I'll be honest, I'll take a huge lump of coal. Heck, Santa, if you're watching, I'll take 2 orders of coal over Blake Bortles. So I'm typing my C there. That's just not ultimately what I want. And if anybody wants, I actually have a question. Do you want free money? Do you want free money for Christmas? I know I do. And this is the way how you're going to get free money. You're going to go to BetDSI. Just think of BetDSI as Santa Claus. Go to chatsports.com/bet. Remember to use that promo code LIVE120 for 120% deposit bonus. Mitch, what does that mean? You put down $50. You get $60 for free. You put down $100, you get $120 for free. If you're a big baller like Santa Claus, put down $500, get $600 for free. Shout out to BetDSI for hooking us up with the best promo code on the internet. Next rumor coming up here on the board, the Raiders got a whole bunch of money to spend next year. I'm giving this one 4 Chucky heads. Believe it, baby. Now, the Raiders have $77 million in available cap space according to overthecap.com. Now, if Donald Penn, Jordy Nelson, and Whitehead don't return next year, you could be looking at the Raiders having close to $95 million. And personally, I don't think Jordy comes back. I've already said I think he retires. I think Donald Penn's not going to be a Raider next year. And I think Tahir Whitehead probably not going to be a Raider. So I think the fact that they could actually have close to $100 million in spending money, or just one John Gruden, is something pretty interesting that the Raiders could be looking at. And they could go out and get some bigger name free agents to ultimately build around this team. So, speaking of free agents, who's the top free agent that you would want the Raiders to go out and sign? Could it be Le'Veon Bell? I said Le'Veon Bell before. Heck, somebody mentioned in my Raider Nation rumors on YouTube that they want us to go out and get Randall Cobb. That one I'm not too crazy about. So, I want to know from you, who's the top free agent you want the Raiders to sign in 2019? Next rumor coming up here on the board is from me. And are the Raiders going to make the playoffs in 2020? Now, I don't have 2020 vision. Oh, wait. I do have 2020 vision, but I'm actually only going to give this one 3 Chucky heads, and I think it's pretty likely. Believe me, I wanted to say 4 Chucky heads, and even putting 3 Chucky heads is a little ballsy. I really think it is. But when you look at the fact that they have $95 million to spend in free agency in 2019, they could potentially add some key players there, but then they have 3 first-round draft picks in 2019, big time there, 5 of the first 65 picks, and they could potentially have 6 of the top 90 picks. So, a lot of money to spend in free agency. We get 6 out of the top 90 players, and then let's give them an entire year to work together and then learn that Gruden system one more time. Hey, all I'm saying is I think the Raiders are actually a legit playoff contender in 2020. So, I want to know from you, do you trust the Raiders process? If you're on Facebook, give me a wow face for yes. Give me an angry face for no. I trust the process. I really do. I think when I see what Gruden's doing, sure, that they're struggling this year, but when you see that much money, that many draft picks, I really truly believe that Gruden is doing the right thing. So the Raiders, I think, are going to be looking good in 2020. But I'll be honest, I'm gonna live in the moment right now. I think I look pretty good, and that's because I'm wearing some Mizzen and Maine. So if you guys want to look as good as me, you go to comfortable.af. Mitch, why is it comfortable.af? Because these shirts are indeed comfortable as F. Next rumor coming up here on the board, Donald Penn. Is he going to return? Oh, man, this is a tricky one. I'm going to give this one 2 Chucky heads. People are talking. So Tom Downey came out and said yesterday on NFL Daily that Donald Penn could potentially return. He's been on the injured reserve since October 3rd, and he is close to becoming eligible. But here's the thing. If Penn returns, it means Marshawn Lynch can't, which I find really interesting. Now, Penn is 35, and he could ultimately fill in for Brandon Parker, who has just kind of been a fill-in player. He hasn't really been all that great, but it's been good for the young rookie to at least get some playing time. And in terms of Donald Penn returning, though, man, I don't know if they should. I don't know if I ultimately want them to. So I'm going to ask you this. Should the Raiders activate Penn? Type Y for yes, type N for no. Like, I think activating Donald Penn helps the Raiders win games. Do we want the Raiders to win games? Like, do we risk bringing back a 35-year-old? The biggest risk is if he comes back and gets hurt, the Raiders are then responsible for even more of his salary next year. So, hey, Donald, maybe you should just sit out, my man. Next rumor coming up here on the board, AJ McCarron will play in Week 13. A lot of AJ McCarron rumors and news around this week. I'm going to give this one Chucky head, and I think it's a small shred of truth. And I have to give it 1 because, sure, anything can happen. Derek Carr could get hurt. But the reason why this is rumors because some of the blog boys were coming out and saying, oh, my Lord, I can't believe I just said blog boys. They came out and saying that Carr is going to be benched for AJ McCarron. Why? Because Carr injured his ankle in the 4th quarter versus the Ravens, and Gruden came out and said that he was actually considering putting McCarron in. The only reason why he was considering it, though, is because Derek would have had to leave the game. Derek straight up told Gruden, hey, man, you take me out of this game, and I'm going to be ticked off. I'm finishing this one. Here are AJ McCarron's career stats, not season stats. That's on my bad there. It's got a 64% completion percentage, 6 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 928 yards in 14 games played. I'm telling you, he's not better than Derek Carr. So, next question. Should AJ McCarron get some snaps in Week 13? I've seen it all over the comments section that, yeah, let's see what AJ's got. Why? Go to Google, look at what AJ's got. It's not a lot, I can promise you. Let's let Derek continue to learn. He's had so many new coaches, so many new coordinators, so many new pieces around him. Yes, he's not been as good as what we've seen in 2016, 2015. But Derek's the franchise. I can promise you, AJ McCarron's not the franchise. I like to think I'm the franchise of the Raiders Report, and I want to give a shout out to everybody watching. And for everybody who subscribes down there below at youtube.com/Raiders Report, I salute you. So what's going on? You're watching the Raiders Report, brought to you by BetDSI, and I'm your host, Mitchell Renz. Please follow me on Twitter at MitchellRenz365. I went through my news. I went through my rumors. Heck, I even went through Raider Nation rumors. So now I'm going to get into my next segment, and it's the 3 Raiders on offense who got basically, or you have a potential to vote for them to make the Pro Bowl. And the first one here is it's Derek Carr. Should Derek Carr go to the Pro Bowl? So Carr is one of 33 eligible candidates. And I'll be honest, I think this is essentially a participation trophy. Like the fact that Derek's on the ballot, he's one of 33. The only team that has 2 is the New York Jets, and that's Sam Darnold and Josh McCown. So yes, he's had a great QBR, 92.5 or whatever it is, second highest in his career. But Derek, the 68.5% completion percentage, the low yard mark, his touchdowns, he's on pace to have a career low there. He's just not having quite the season I think that deserves to be a Pro Bowler. So I want to know from you, Raider Nation. You guys have been honest with me the entire way throughout the entire season, and especially on Derek Carr. Would you vote for the Carr to be invited to the Pro Bowl? I want you to type Y for yes or type N for no. I'm going to type my N for no, and I'd be pretty surprised how many people actually end up typing Y for yes. Next one coming up here, Jared Cook to the Pro Bowl. Jared's on the list, and I'm super happy that he is. So he is one of 37 eligible candidates for the Pro Bowl as a tight end. And he's having a career year at age 31. Here's the thing, though, with him. He's never made a Pro Bowl in 10 seasons. And when you look at his overall target share and receptions that he's had for the Raiders this year, 70 targets. He's no doubt been Derek Carr's go-to guy. 47 receptions. He's on pace to have his career high there. 609 yards. Heck, he led the Raiders last year with 688 yards. He's already tied a career high in touchdowns with 5. So I want to know from you, would you vote for Cook to be invited to the Pro Bowl? Should Jared Cook be on the Pro Bowl roster? Type Y for yes or type N for no. I'm typing my Y for yes, and I think Jared absolutely deserves it. He's been great. Heck, did you guys see that one-handed catch he made last week? That might have been better than Odell Beckham's catch. So, yes, I'm typing my Y for yes. Jared has looked good all season long. I think I've looked good all season long, too, and that's thanks to Miz and Amain for hooking me up with these comfortable as-F dress shirts. Heck, they got sweat-wicking technology, so you guys can't tell when I'm dripping with sweat. And also, they're super flexible, so you can stretch out. They're unbelievably comfortable. I can wear them to the gym. I can wear them to the office. You can literally wear these things anywhere. So if you guys want one of your own, go ahead, go to comfortable.af. Shout out to Miz and Amain. Last guy on the Pro Bowl ballot, it's Rodney Hudson. And personally for me, I think Rodney Hudson, you could argue, has been the Raiders' MVP this season. Yes, the offensive line has been bad, but I don't even want to know what it would look like without Rodney Hudson. So Hudson is one of 32 eligible centers, and the thing that I love about this is he could potentially make the Pro Bowl again for the third straight season. And when you look at that, I think that's a big thing, and it's just credit to Rodney Hudson. So, Raider Nation, would you vote for Rodney Hudson to be on the Pro Bowl? Type Y for yes or type N for no. I'm going to type my Y for yes because I think Hudson absolutely deserves to go to the Pro Bowl. Sure, it's been kind of a rough season for the Raiders, but if there's been one solid player in the middle of that offensive line, in the middle of the Raiders team, I think it's been Rodney Hudson. So let's take a recap here of the 3 offensive players from the Raiders who have been nominated to the Pro Bowl. You got Derek Carr. He's been there 3 times. Jared Cook has never been there. Rodney Hudson has been there twice. I voted yes for Jared. I voted yes for Rodney Hudson. Unfortunately, though, I'm going to vote no for Derek Carr. Raider Nation, what's going on? You're watching the Raiders Report, brought to you by BetDSI. There's a big game coming up this week. I don't know if you know that, against the Chiefs. And even though the Chiefs are favorited, I still think that this is an interesting game that we could at least watch and definitely bet on. I know I'm betting on it, that's for sure. So, but I read this interesting article that this kid from Fansided basically said that the Raiders versus the Chiefs isn't a rivalry. And his main argument was it's because the Chiefs are so much better than the Raiders this year. If a rivalry is based on 1 year, I think he needs to look up the definition of what a rivalry actually is. So, sure, the Chiefs are 14-point favorites according to BetDSI, and the Chiefs have been a much better team this year, first in the AFC West compared to the Raiders last. But he also says the rivalry is more about the fans and the teams. Now, that might be true. But at the end of the day, me personally, I still think it's a rivalry. But I want to know from you, is the Raiders versus Chiefs a rivalry? Type, or give me a heart for yes, give me a like for no if you're on Facebook. Heck, if you're on YouTube, type yes or type no. I mentioned I'm going to bet on this game, and you guys should too. And there's only one place to do it. It's at BetDSI. Go to chatsports.com/bet. Remember to use that promo code LIVE120 for that 120% deposit bonus. What does that mean? Put down $50, you get $60 for free. Put down $100, you get $120 for free. Hell, if you're a big baller, put down $500, get $600 for free. Shout out to BetDSI for hooking us up with the best promo code on the internet. All right, let's look at that Week 13 matchup a little bit closer here. And we got some over-unders, and we got the favorites. The Chiefs are favorited, as you see on the screen there, by 14 points. And the over-under is 55.5, which is pretty interesting to me. I think this has been the highest over-under for the Raiders game all season long. The Chiefs are averaging 36.7 points per game. Patrick Mahomes is absolutely tearing it up, 37 passing touchdowns. And you look at the Raiders, scoring only 17 a game, and they've allowed the most rushing yards per game with 151. Not looking too good. I will say this already. I've already bet the over on this game. I think the Chiefs, they might put up 55 on themselves, or against the Raiders. So I want to know from you, though. All right, I want you guys to predict the score. I haven't had anybody get it right yet, which I'm actually pretty surprised. It's Week 13, and this is the interesting thing, okay? You have to slide into my DMs. The only way you're going to get $25 is if you slide into my DMs at MitchellRens365 and predict the score. There's only one winner, so first come, first serve. Predict the score. Raiders versus Chiefs. I'm going to get out my score already so nobody can take it, so I can give myself $25. I'm going to go Chiefs 42, Raiders 19. Yeah, a weird score, but I think, hey, I've seen a lot of weird scores this year. Raider Nation, I want to say thank you so much for tuning in to the Raiders Report. I'm going to be back Sunday after the Raiders and Chiefs game, so until then, go Raiders.